holidays are a time for celebration, but if you're closing on a home in November or December, there's more to think about than just wrapping the presents. Today, I'm sharing essential tips to help you navigate year-end closings and truly make it home for the holidays. December closings do require some extra attention. We find we get very busy at the end of the year, people trying to get established in their homes before the holidays come up. Sometimes just for tax purposes, you would like to get your closing done on or before December 31st. And that way you're starting 2026 with a whole new reporting year and not having to worry about the tax reporting that goes along with either buying or selling a house. So, key points to remember when you are planning your end of the year closings is that there are time constraints not only for your attorney's office, but also for your lender. They may be slightly short-staffed as people take their holiday leaves, and so there may be some delays with the processing of loans. There may be some delays with things like home inspections. There also may be some weather considerations, especially for inspections for new home construction, for example. I've done a number of construction loans lately where the first part of the loan is a distribution time where the construction is active and the bank is holding your funds, and then your contractor has to have an inspection in order to get the next distribution from the construction loan. So if it's snowy, if there's a winter blizzard, all of that can be delayed. That all falls under the category of managing your contingencies. So if there is a mortgage contingency in your contracts, let's say you're a buyer and there is a certain time that you're given in your contract to put your lending into place. Well, this may not be a time of year that you could expect that to happen in a week or less. You may want to make sure you build in enough time. And it's good to ask both your realtor and your attorney, what are the kind of time frames that we're seeing around that particular time? We'll be able to tell you and give you the best advice on the contingencies. You don't want to miss a contingency date because there may be another buyer waiting in the wings. So if you miss your date, that gives your seller an opportunity to perhaps cancel the contract, move on to another buyer, and you don't want to take those kinds of risks. So another important consideration when you're planning your closing is that a title search has to be done. That is legal work that goes on in the background while you are planning your lending, you're getting your financing in place. Your attorney has to make sure that the title is clear. So that means that there are no old unreleased mortgages, there are no liens. An attorney will also look to make sure that there is not a permanent easement that you're not aware of. Your neighbor, for example, may have the right to cross and recross a portion of your property, or there may be a shared driveway agreement. Those are all things that you need to be well aware of our closing date. So around the holidays in November and December, there are closures of the municipal offices. A lot of title searches right now can be done online. And in that case, the closing of the municipal town hall may not interfere too much. But sometimes there's an old map that your attorney will need to check to see where is that right of way, where is that easement. If it's not online, then we need to go to the town hall. So that sometimes is another aspect of the closing that may delay things a bit, and just to be aware of that and make sure that the attorney office that you're dealing with builds in some extra time for possible holiday closures. Another important consideration when you're closing is that there is what's called a tax adjustment. So if you are closing, for example, in December, then the buyer will pay for whatever real estate taxes are due from the date of closing all the way through to the next tax bill. And every town is a little different. So some tax bills are due every January 1st and July 1st. Some tax bills are due quarterly. So your attorney's office will make sure that that tax adjustment is done properly so that the seller who has paid up all the way to the end of the year, they get a tax adjustment so that they're paid back for those days that they have now sold the house. They're out. They won't be responsible for those taxes. And then the seller will have to pay, and that's what we call a tax adjustment. And actually, end of the year, the tax adjustments are a little easier because there aren't a lot of days between when you're closing and when the next tax bill is due. So there's really only a few days of the month to take into consideration. But those tax adjustments are done with every closing. So, what are the biggest mistakes that some buyers might make with December closings? Probably the first one is underestimating the holiday delays. Sometimes there is so much focus on getting into that house quickly because you are picturing your family around the holiday table. But if the town hall is closed and there is an unresolved title issue, that closing might be delayed. And then there's also just all of the scheduling considerations. You have to schedule a moving truck. Is that moving company busy because there are a lot of other closings happening, other people trying to get in before the end of the year? Do they have a lot of employees taking time off for the holidays as well? You have to picture all of the different companies and services that are involved in a closing, from your attorney's office, from your town hall, from your lender, to your moving company, to the inspection company. Just remember that they are all some compressed holiday schedules, and it's important to take those things under consideration. Sometimes some flexibility has to be built into your expectations, even to the point of maybe having to close into January, which can be disappointing. So if there's a way to plan ahead, this is the perfect time to do that. You don't want to rush the process. So you don't want to miss a title issue. You don't want to rush your final walkthrough. Or I am a particular stickler for not skipping the final walkthrough. Most attorneys, most realtors will emphasize for you how important that final one is. So you have viewed this house that you love and you want to buy, and you have viewed it most likely when it's furnished. And so there are parts of the house that you simply haven't seen because they've been blocked. So if you went down to the basement and there were belongings down there, people's boxes, the seller was still living there, there may be a leak that you didn't see that perhaps your inspector missed. There may be, depending on the age of the house, some beautiful old colonials. They do have some mold in the basement. It's not anyone's fault, but it could be there, and you really need to understand, number one, what you're taking on when you're buying that house, the kind of maintenance that's involved. And number two, what would be the seller's responsibility? Because once you have that closing and it's completed, those problems are yours. And that should have been something that was caught on that final walkthrough. So although you are not a professional inspector, you need to get eyes on that house either the day before you close or the morning of the closing. And so that's really sort of some examples of ways that people may come into a closing right around the holiday. I don't want you to be disappointed. I want you to be happy with the process. And so I always do my best to make sure that I'm getting everything done well ahead of time. Also, keep an open communication with my clients. So if I know or I have a suspicion that I might be running into a title issue, for example, and I know I'm going to have to do a couple hours in the town hall, I will communicate that with you. I will let you know that that is a possibility, that if we need to extend the date of the closing because of those considerations, I will always be talking to my clients about that. I don't want any surprises to come up from my office. So there are surprises that can come up in general, just with the situation. Sometimes things are difficult to anticipate, but if if it's something that I can see and anticipate, I will be communicating that with my clients. December closings can be smooth and successful with proper planning. Focus on early action with your contingencies. Understand your title search timeline and pay close attention to year-end property tax considerations. If you're planning a holiday closing or have questions about your real estate transaction, let's sit down and discuss how I can guide you through every aspect of the process. Contact my office today at 860-928-2429 or visit katecerronelaw.com to schedule a consultation. Here's to making your house a home just in time for the holidays.